Now let us look at like what happens with the flight, freeze, or it's basically flight, fight, or freeze responses. Now, you are faced with danger. Your body already picks up there is what? Danger. Now, I'm coming back to making it very interesting for you. To understand fear, fear usually deals with this part of the brain. This part of the brain is called the limbic cortex. Now, with the limbic cortex, what is very interesting about this part of the brain, which is almost towards the back of your brain, somewhere here. So with the limbic cortex, so what it does is that its role is in the conscious feeling, especially fear. You understand? So what it does that whenever we are dealing with the fear response, it is on the limbic cortex of the brain. And it's not the only part that is being triggered. The next part that is also triggered is what we call the amygdala. Now the amygdala, its role is also, it includes emotional experiences, especially what? Fear. So, and then what it then does is that all these aspects of the brain come back to the pituitary gland, and it comes back to your hypothalamus. Now, what this whole part of the system does is that it releases and produces a very critical hormone which controls various body function. And this hormone is what we call the cortisol. Now, let me tell you what it then does to you. Like what the cortisol then does when it's released within your body, there's certain aspect of your body that will start to behave or to experience certain emotions. Again, remember what I started telling you. Some of these emotions, when it comes, they are not necessarily bad for you. And this is why we say knowledge is power. We are coming back, mind nuggets. Fear is not always bad. We have good fear and bad fear. So at this point, fear is not always bad for you. Fear sometimes is your friend. So what I'm teaching you right now is that when this cortisol hormone is released and the brain releases that into the body, there are certain physical sensations that will go through your body. What you find is that your heart rate increases. I'm just going to give you some simple one of them. You find that suddenly your heart rate increases. Why is the heart rate increasing? It's increasing because the blood is pumping blood faster to prepare yourself that in case you have to fight or to flee, you have enough for you to run. Now, I'm going to further make it interesting for you. Go and just check whenever you are afraid. What is the first thing you start feeling? It's an increased heart rate. So now, instead of starting to panic, like, oh my God, I'm so afraid, this is an increased heart rate and I'm getting a heart attack. No, don't always think like that, because that's how you, at the end of the day, can increase or get a very beautiful symptoms that is meant to help you, and then you totally misunderstand it, and then it can totally increase it, as I said in the beginning, what you think you are. And you end up with bad fear, while this one was just a symptom to show you that your body is acting perfectly normal. So your skin will also constrict. Why does your skin constrict? It constricts so that if someone cuts you, if there's an open wound, the loss of blood would be minimalized because the clotting system will come into space. Are you with me so far? You find that even with your eyesight, you find that you are able to see clearer and to be able to do certain things in a different way. Also, you also find that, right, if you notice that when you are afraid, when you have to run, you will run for your life. You are faster than any fastest athlete that you have ever seen because of the adrenaline rush. You also find that if you have to fight for your life, you are usually stronger than in normal circumstances. All those responses have been put in place in your body to protect you. So they are not bad necessarily. We will come to the bad part of it. But what I'm explaining right now, when you start feeling all those symptoms, it just shows you that your adrenaline responses are top tip. They are the best because the adrenaline responses in its natural form are actually good for you. Again, fear is not always a bad thing. Remember this. So don't always panic just because you are afraid. There is good fear because good fear not only protects your body, it also protects you, it also propels you, to be able to act in certain ways and to be successful at what you do. So the power we have is in overcoming that fear and doing what we need to do. It is a problem when we become stuck in that fear. And unfortunately, this is where our biggest problem is. Most of you listening to me, you are stuck in fear because you do not understand how the body reacts. You get yourself stuck. I'm here to tell you that there is good fear. Don't always interpret any form of fear as a bad fear. There is good fear. So with that in mind, please, what must you do for this week? Sit down, write down all those things that you are afraid of. Identify, is this fear justified? Is this fear a good fear or a bad fear? Is it a conditioned fear or is it an innate fear? Now we are getting to a very interesting aspect. Which one is then conditioned fear? Conditioned fear is the fear we have learned because of our own experiences. Now, what does it mean? What it means is that, for example, there are people who would go, maybe you were not afraid of dogs. Then you see what a dog has done to someone. Either a dog beats you or a dog beats someone that you know. Then from that experience, you learned that dogs can be dangerous. Instead, then you have a conditioned fear that, a dog can beat me. Now you are afraid. That is conditioned fear. So it is different from the one that we are born with. So conditioned fear is according to your experiences. It's like someone saying that I'm afraid to take the risk in going into a relationship or in getting married because I see so many high divorce rates. That is what? A learned fear, conditioned and learned. But again, I'm coming back to say that you need to overcome, because once you understand that it is not necessarily true for every person, and once you now put the different aspect to ensure that there are different things that you are doing to ensure that this conditioned fear will not affect you, then you are good to go. So you need to understand, because awareness in everything that you do, understand this, a little knowledge is very dangerous. So once you understand that this is good fear, or this fear that I'm having is just an innate fear, or this is a conditioned fear, that there's nothing wrong with this fear, then you are able to control it. So I'm hoping that you are learning something here. So write down immediately, what is it that you are afraid of? Which one is conditioned? Which one is innate? And then also check, is this bad fear or is it good fear? Next week, we are going to be talking about bad fear, so that you can now differentiate the two very nicely. So I'm Eunice Gonzo. This is Healing Sessions with Eunice.